width of the Danube River, not some mere pond in your local park, but an enormous river, the likes of which Caesar would have been impressed by if he had crossed it instead of the Rubicon, which is a bit like a stream. It has great big arches on both sides with enormous bronze statues that every soldier on their way to slaughtering the Dacians would have been impressed by, and every barbarian and every Roman passing through it.
Welcome to Questioning History, a place where a bunch of guys ask all the questions without any of the answers. Today, we're here to settle one of the most important questions in history, and that is, which is the superior Rome? For the Western side, I have Romabu defending the power of the original Romans, but are the superior Romans that of the East? We're going to hear it from Daniel from Eastern Roman History. These are two of my favorite YouTubers when it comes to Roman studies, and I've used both of them in some of my research, especially Daniel, who for my Fourth Crusade series on Kings and Generals was an incredible source of inspiration and sources. So if you ever have interest in the Roman Empire, which I'm sure many of you do, please check both of these channels out. And how would you guys want to introduce yourselves?
I don't know. Hello and welcome to Eastern Roman History.
Yeah.
I'm Daniel Maynard, and I am the creator of Eastern Roman History, a channel dedicated to the late Roman and Byzantine Empire.
Great. Well, I don't have a cool catchphrase, but hey everyone, my name is Alexei. I run Romabu Ramblings channel, and I do videos about everything related to the Roman history, from the very foundation to the fall of Constantinople.
Amazing. But enough with the pleasantries. We're here to settle a very big debate, and we'll start with a very interesting question, the only one that I will be taking part in. And the question and the first debate will be, which Rome, East or West, had the most triumphant moment?
Ooh.
Think about it, because there's plenty.
I can think of a lot of defeats.
We'll get to them. Trust me.
Both
there's a lot of dark.
Plenty of those.
There's a lot of dark debates coming. I just wanted to start on a happy note.
Yeah. I actually did a video about top 10 Byzantine history victories. Should need to remember that.
I'm a little scared that Daniel's going to pick my choice, so I'm going to go ahead and take it right now, and I'm going with the victory over the Umayyads in the 718 siege of Constantinople.
Ooh, that is a very good one. Yeah. Thinking.
Oh, you mean we're free to pick any kind of specific moment? We're not,
any moment you choose from your timeline.
Eh.
Oh, and to clarify for the audience, Romabu has everything in the Western Roman Empire up until Constantine included.
Do you have the Republic?
You have the Republic.
Okay. Okay, you can have Constantine.
You have the monarchy.
You can have Constantine.
You can have you can have the monarchy too. You can have the monarchy too.
Sure.
So from Romulus to Constantine, and everything in the West after, and then it has everything from Constantine to Constantine.
The son of Helena. Which one? There's actually quite a few victories which are noteworthy.
Doesn't need to be a military victory, by the way. Just a triumphant moment.
Triumphant moment. I have thought of one which is sort of a double victory.
Go with your gut.
There's quite a lot happens at the same time as well. You've got
all
so
right. You just have to pick your choice, and we're gonna do the arguments after.
It's the conversion of the Rus with Vladimir the Great / the subsequent defeat of Bardus Focus by Basil and Constantine.
Okay, my boy, the Bulgar Slayer. Nice.
Slash the creation of the Varangian Guard.
Nice.
All at the same time.
Pretty good choice. Alexei, what are you going with?
I'm gonna go with the obvious one. I'm gonna go with Zama.
Fair enough. Okay. Let me clock myself in here. 90 seconds. And okay. When it comes to Last Stands, the Siege of Constantinople, a brutal siege that went on for a year and a half, there can be no comparison. This was the moment when the Roman Empire or the West Europe stood alone against the invasion that was extremely well prepared. It had a great commander, had over 100,000 troops, had a huge navy, supplies to last, obviously, the length it lasted. And they were absolutely driven to take this city. They were inspired by the Quran and Muhammad saying that Constantinople should fall to the Muslims. They have been on a spree, on a snowball, like one that we haven't seen since Alexander's time, of just taking over everything in the Middle East. And the thing that stopped them was this triumphant moment when the Byzantines pulled in together all of their strength. They emptied all of the garrisons in the Balkans. They got the Bulgarian allies using their tricky Byzantine diplomacy. They used Greek fire. They used the Theodosian walls. They used incredible high morale. They had an emperor who was like a rallying point and an inspirational figure that got things together and made the repairs where they needed to be done. And in the end of the day, they repulsed one of the biggest armies of all time. And talk about a triumph of defeating adversity and time. All right.
How about I go next?
Go ahead.
So I think for the Eastern Roman Empire, one of their triumphant moments, both culturally, militarily, and as a interesting period in general, is Basil II's defeat of Bardus Focus in their second civil war in the 980s, which not only witnessed the creation of the Varangian Guard, who will become the Imperial Guard for the next 400 years, but also the conversion of the Kievan Rus, which will see the whole of that area of Europe eventually convert to Orthodox Christianity. So not only was Basil and Constantine able to secure their reign for the next 30 years, but also had a very long-lasting legacy, which we still can experience today, and for the Byzantines until their last century.
30 seconds.
And using the Varangian Guard, they absolutely thrashed Bardus Focus. And there's a funny story where Constantine VIII said that he was responsible for killing him, which he wasn't, but probably cut his head off anyway, because Bardus Focus had a stroke or some such during the battle. But yeah, it's a really cool moment.
It is. All right, let's do Zama.
Yes. So all of the victories of the Eastern Roman Empire, of the Roman Empire as is, and the victories in the late Roman Republic even, wouldn't have been possible without that victory. The Battle of Zama is the culmination of the Rome's struggle for survival. It was one of the few times in history, in Roman history, when the Romans were faced with the opponent who was almost equally equipped, had almost an equal will to fight, and had ambitions that could rival Rome itself. From 200, what was it, 216, the Battle of Cannae, to 202 at Zama, Rome came from the worst defeat in its history to defeating its greatest rival, arguably of all of its 2,000-year history. It's everything that is great about the Roman Republic. So it's a triumph of not only of the great generalship of Scipio, but also of the great Roman will to fight, the perseverance, and everything that made possible the legacy that
Time.
the Republic left.
Okay. So, Daniel, I love your choice, but the thing is, the triumph doesn't really belong to Basil. One, Bardas Focus dying from a stroke can be seen as like miraculous or a divine will, if you may, but I see it as luck. I see it as incredibly anticlimactic, and as all of this preparation that's gone to waste. The Christianization and the Varangian Guard doesn't. Again, he had a finger in it, but it Russia also had a finger in it too. Whereas with my choice, you're talking about huge triumph over a huge adversary. With Zama, you're having something similar. The choice is, I think, better because, yes, the Romans went from a complete fear to complete triumph, same as my choice did. The only problem I have with Zama is that Hannibal was running on bureaucracy, a lot of different interests. They didn't allow him to be the great general that he was, and he was a better general than Scipio was. So, not as good. Time. All right, same order as before. So Daniel, you go second. Destroy us both.
I think both of these are really good examples of Roman victories. You can edit out that.
All right.
So I think Zama is a really pivotal victory for Scipio, but in some respects, the Second Punic War had pretty much been drawn to a close. This was, as I understand it, the tipping point where Carthage was being pummeled into submission rather than the really decisive moment in the war, unlike when Basil gets the Varangian Guard, which brings the civil war to an end. With 717, it is true, it is a really pivotal moment, but some of it is to do with the Arabs' own lack of siege organization. In fact, as far as we're aware, they don't actually attack the walls of Constantinople once, and are mainly relying on their sea power, which gets destroyed, and their supplies.
Once again, 10 more seconds and you would have killed it. Okay. How did this happen?
So the question was, what was the most triumphal moment? It wasn't what was the pivotal, what was the greatest comeback that Rome did. So both your picks are great, but Daniel, the conversion of Rus isn't so much a great triumph as it is a big legacy. It's an important moment in the cultural history. But it's not like everyone was celebrating, yay, we converted the Rus finally. And Georgi, your pick is a big military victory, but unlike Zama, where it's something like we suffered, we persevered for 18 years, now we can finally enjoy the fruits of our victory. The victory of Leo III is something that, well, we got them this time. Hope they don't come back like in 10 years to
time. Really good. I'm genuinely surprised how good you guys are at both attacking and defending. It's really nice.
Wow.
3, 2, 1. And movie magic. We're back after some technical difficulties, but I hope you enjoyed that last debate. Honestly, this one, I'm taking myself out of the equation, right? I'm definitely certain that Romubu or Alexei won this. The choice was really solid. The counters were vicious, especially the one. I mean, I'm out of the equation, so I'm just looking at the one that Daniel, and the one again, Daniel was really, really solid. Daniel also made some great comments, but I think with a lot of his reasoning, it was going in a different track and not exactly what the question was. And I also regret not mentioning the fact that this was the one of the only events of the three that people could watch. Even in history, few events like the whole city was watching from atop those walls as thousands of Arabians were dying of starvation and cold. But yeah, on this gloomy topic, we're talking about it's a vicious fight, so we're gonna have a lot of vicious debates. So let's see what the next one is. Oh yeah,
I do think Zama's a good one.
Yes.
Well,
Zama was a great
Triumph,
choice.
I tried to go with something which was not just militarily important for Basil, because if he lost it, he would been probably done for. But also,
Definitely.
just like a lot came out of that last minute diplomacy.
100%.
So
the next debate's gonna be pretty dark, and I'm gonna need you both to pick the worst time to be a Roman.
Oof.
From your very large timelines, both of you, you have to pick the one moment that's the worst time to be a Roman.
I could kind of think of two.
Gotta go with one.
There's a good theme running between the two of them. It would either be in the 1340s when you have 1348,
okay,
or 1347, where you've just come out of a civil war where the entire country's been raped and pillaged by Serbs, Bulgarians, Turks, other Romans, and then you die of the of the bubonic plague.
Yeah.
Black Death.
But hold on, don't spoil your main
that.
arguments. You gotta just give your choice.
So there's either that or sometime in the 7th century. We've got that on I may go actually. We've got that on a colossal scale.
How long can a period be?
One lifetime or less? Yeah, let's go with one medieval lifetime.
It's about 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, max.
I'm gonna go with the late Republic before Augustus.
Late Republic before Augustus? Yes, okay.
Yeah.
With like the 80s to the
40s? Do you start at solo?
30s.
I started at solo.
Okay. And Daniel?
Sorry, what was that?
What are you going with?
Oh, it would be probably the 7th century.
Okay.
It's my first answer, but across the whole Mediterranean. So
no Fourth Crusade. Interesting.
I was thinking more.
There was not a lot of death. Yeah, the plagues. There was a lot more death.
1204. It's very much. It's a shock for the Byzantines, but I don't know. Having your entire family die off in one go is probably a bit of a because I'll wait for my argument.
Yeah. But now this was just the setup. There was just the setup. The plot twist is actually you have to argue why your timeline, the period you chose, is actually better than your opponent's.
Oh. Well, the 7th century.
So yes, why the 7th century is better than his.
The 7th century when exactly?
Yeah, you have to be
the early 7th century.
Early.
So Persian War.
Yeah, Persian War.
Okay.
Arab conquest.
We start with Daniel on the. I think you were first last debate, so this one goes to Romubu.
So I need to argue.
Why was your? So the question is, Romubu, you're arguing why the late Republic is a better time to be alive in? Pitch that to me. I'm a time traveler, and you need to tell me of the two, if these are my only two choices, why I should go and spend some time in your choice, because my survivability will be higher there.
So we're arguing why you should pick the one that I picked as the worst instead of my opponents. Yeah?
Why is yours better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, time starts when you begin speaking.
Okay, I think you should totally pick the late Republic as a time traveling choice instead of the 7th century and the Persian War, because you have first of all, you can avoid the war if you don't wanna. So you get to live through the height of the Republican period, basically. If you so desire, you can emerge into the politics and everything, and every risk associated with it, and it's going to be very interesting. It's going to let you learn more about yourself. What kind of political ideology do you tend toward? You can meet the greatest figures, basically, of the Roman Republic: Sulla, Marius, Julius Caesar, Crassus, and Pompey. And if you don't want to run the risk of losing your life in the civil struggle, well, you can do something else, I guess. You can go out of Rome, and because all of the civil strife and war was concentrated around the capital. The 7th century, you don't have this option. You basically either fight against the Persian or against the Persians, or you run for your life, and your chances of survival and your control of your fate is much smaller, much more fleeting than that in the late Republican period.
Time. A main argument and counter wrapped into one. I like it. Tough one to follow, Daniel. Let's see what you got.
Well, I think an advantage of living in the 7th century is that so long as you're not near the action, say in the Eastern frontier, you should be okay. I mean, in North Africa, around Carthage, or anywhere where things have sort of settled down, you'll probably be all right. And if you live in places like Sicily, you probably have much better time than living in, I don't know, Rome when Sulla is passing his prescriptions, and or having your family attacked by people with license from the state. So, there are things which, invasions and so on going on in the early 7th century, but at least you don't have the state mandating that you can be killed. So, and politically, there is quite a lot of stability once Heraclius becomes
time.
There we are.
All right.
I hope that. Yes.
And rebuttal.
So if you time travel to the Roman Republic in the 90s, at the time of the proscriptions, you don't have any prior connections to the people, so you don't have any grudges against your neighbors. So no one's gonna add your list to the proscriptions. This means you're not gonna die in the purges, in the political purges, if you don't actively engage in it. So if you're travel to the 7th century, you are at least supposed to be Roman, right? So if the Persians get to you, well, they're gonna enslave you or kill you. So you don't, and that's why you don't have a say in whether or not in your fate that much. And a greater portion of the empire was overrun by the Persians during this the lowest point of the war for the Byzantines. So it's around 612, I think. It was Egypt, Syria, most of Anatolia, and everything like this.
This was a really good one. I gotta give props to Romobu, who structured his two arguments in such a way that there was a main, a counter, and then more. It was really really well done. I wish Daniel spent more time bashing the opponent's choice and saying what other
I don't think I've
atrocities I
had
could
my
suffer.
rebuttal yet.
Daniel
Wait.
didn't have his rebuttal, yes.
Oh my! I'm so
That's
sorry.
probably why.
I am so sorry.
That was probably because
His
Alexei's first
structure,
answer
yes,
was
His
really
structure
well
kind of
done.
put me off. Yes. I'm
Ah.
sorry. I'll give you 70 seconds for this. My bad.
That's right. So I think is this. All right, let me
Yep, no worries.
collect my thoughts. Well, there are a lot of advantages for people living in the 7th century. One, you actually have citizenship, which most Romans didn't have in the the 1st century BC. You've got fewer internal enemies. In terms of conquests, of course, you have sackings and things like that going on. But that's also true for the civil wars in the 1st century BC. So that's not really much of a change. And once those places have been conquered by the Persians, they were incorporated into the Persian Empire and run as actual provinces. So, with the initial jolt, things were going to improve. And backed by the Romans. So I think there's a lot of equivalency going on here, but also you have that the things that Roman citizens have been built upon, which haven't begun yet in the 1st century BC. So I think that's
it. Thank you. Okay, interesting. So despite me giving you the hint, you still didn't give enough punches and explain why it sucked. There was a lot of equivalency, but he made more arguments on why your choice is worse. And me as a time traveler, I'm interested in the things I want to see, which he managed to mention that I'll see all the great personalities of the late Roman Empire, mentioned them by name, and he also gave me an out. And you could have mentioned so many bad things that could have happened to me. Equivalency is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a better choice, and for that reason, I'm gonna go again with Romobu, even though I'm a diehard Byzantine fan. But the
early 7th century was an awful place to live.
Yeah,
I don't blame you.
Yeah,
I was half going, actually, I'd probably go with the 1st century BC. So I was arguing something I didn't actually agree with, if that makes sense. So
that's always fun.
I would actually have picked the one of the moments in the 7th century as the most triumphant.
Wow!
When Heraclius returns the Holy Cross to Jerusalem.
Yeah,
I think that was the most triumphal.
Yeah, the payoff after 20 years of constant warfare.
Yeah, and for one of the worst, I'm surprised you didn't go with the third century crisis.
It was kind of a toss-up, but decided
yeah.
that sort of prescriptions are worse.
I was also trying to think of like other things which were going on which I could benefit from, but it's hard. It's like economically, money is getting less valuable, and eventually the monetary economy shrinks, so that's gone. I was like, we've got religious strife going on. I don't think there's much social unrest. That is a positive.
But let's not get caught into too much, because we have a lot of good ones left.
Yeah.
The next one is so first I need to ask Daniel, have you both watched the Netflix on the Rise of Empires with the Fall of Constantinople?
I made a review of it, actually.
Great.
Although that was like 2 years ago now, so it has been a while.
Well, I didn't really watch it.
Oh.
As much as I cut it into pieces, just run from the background of my video. But I never watched it from start to finish.
Okay. Oh, okay. But have you both watched Rome?
No,
What?
This is what every friend says to me. It's just like, no, I haven't seen Rome. What?
Oh, man. I was
have
planning to
seen
see which season was better of the
everything.
two.
I've
But
kind of
okay.
scuppered your plans for that.
No, it's okay. And I was also planning to do the Netflix show versus the HBO one, but don't worry, I've come prepared. Who had the more challenging rival? There's been
More
plenty
challenging.
in both timelines. Both states had a lot of interesting rivals. One of the big ones was already mentioned. I'm in fact two. But you gotta pick a rival. There's no plot twist here. You just gotta pick the more challenging rival. We're back at Danielle starting first. But choices first.
May I have returned? Ooh, it's quite a lot actually.
Yeah.
They get things like Attila.
Yeah.
Are we meant to pick a sort of nation slash people, or
what are
a
you
single
thinking?
person, or a single
Oh, no,
person?
a nation people
A
type
nation
thing.
slash people.
Yeah. Carthage, Vandals,
The Goths.
Goths, Umayyads, Bulgarians. It's a lot of choices. Ottomans, if you wish.
I think I'm gonna have to go for the Umayyad Caliphate because I've, Georgi already mentioned
Yeah.
the 717 siege, plus there's the siege in the 670s.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Sort of. Yeah.
Yes. I intend to make an interesting video about that.
Nice.
Um,
Alexei, what are you going with?
I'm gonna go with the Samnites.
Interesting.
ooh.
Very well. Let's hear from the Umayyads first. I was wondering if you're gonna go Sasanians to make like a juxtaposition on the two, but Samnites a pretty good one.
I think I have an interesting thing to say about that. So let's see if I can get this in a
Okay.
minute.
90 seconds.
90 seconds.
The main argument.
Okay. So I think the Umayyad Caliphate is the biggest rival the Byzantines have to deal with, because it was a persistent rival for 100 years, which very rarely actually let up in their attacks. I mean, for the first 30 or so years, from the end of Heraclius's reign to Constans II's reign, Syria has lost, Palestine has lost, Egypt has lost, parts of North Africa has lost. They're raiding into North Africa, around Carthage. They're raiding Cyprus and the Eastern Mediterranean islands, like at the Battle of the Masts. There 2 sieges of Constantinople in the 670s and in 717 to 18, and then continuous raids into Anatolia and North Africa until it's lost in 698. So for about 100 years, the Umayyads nearly destroy the empire twice, and also cause the empire to completely restructure their army, administration, and economy to deal with it, which is something that no other enemy of the empire caused in that sense. And the Byzantines never actually defeated them.
Okay, that stands. Good note.
That is to say that they didn't take out the Umayyads. They just died off.
Yeah.
Can I add that in?
yeah, that's in. That's in.
Yeah. Oh, good. But yeah.
Alexei, that's his best main yet. You gotta bring the fire here.
Right. So the Samnites aren't like the most flashy rival. It's not like Carthage or like Persia or anything. But I'm gonna argue that the Samnites were the ones that were the closest to Rome in power ranking, basically. And they actually had an option to end Roman Republic at one point. And the only thing that prevented them is basically their, I don't know, mercy. So if at Caudine Forks, the Samnites decide who had the entire, well, 2 legions, I don't remember, maybe it's only 1 legion, but still, the most of the Roman army, they had them disarmed and totally at their mercy. And if at that moment they just decided to execute everyone, then Rome stands undefended. They can take over, they can they can force any kind of peace deal, any concessions that they want from the Romans, and that would be a setback that could have resulted in the rise of Roman Republic not happening at all, more so than the Second Punic War or the wars against the Greek city-states.
Really good, really poetic. I think this is all going to come down to the counters. So now you have to argue. Yes.
Is that when the Romans are still using hoplites? Or have they got the Camillia? Because originally they used hoplites.
That would be,
and then they
after.
switch. Yeah. So they got Velites and Principes and so forth. Okay.
I'm not sure. I don't want to say, but
no, they could.
Yeah, my early Republican history is awful.
Yeah, I think they're still spear boys at that point, though.
No, there should be, because Camillus was like 380s, and that was 310s.
Right.
So there should already be like the triplex case.
All right, nice. Okay, so in the rebuttals, you need to tell me why, when you match the 2 opponents together, the 2 rivals, one is just more dangerous, more challenging, inflicted more damage, and was a harder hurdle to pass than. And you're not talking so much about your own. You're trying to reduce the influence of your opponent. Danielle, ready?
Yeah. So as much as the Samnites, had the noose around the Romans, they didn't tie it up, and the Samnites were a bigger and stronger Italic tribe than the Romans, and they failed because the Romans conquered them in the end, and then the Romans go on and conquer the rest of Italy and so forth. So as much as they are a threat, they not able to take advantage of that threat. And how much could you say that the Roman army, if it had been destroyed at that moment, could have raised another one? I mean, they could have, like later on, they're able to recruit more troops, even slaves into the army. So it's possible Rome may have been able to recover in that. So I'm not sure how much the Samnites were really the biggest threat the Roman Republic had.
Nice. 3 seconds to spare.
Especially compared to many of their other opponents, such as the Etruscans or Carthaginians.
Wait. You're out of time. You're out of time.
Just cut it so it's Carthage. Who are the Carthage? Yeah.
All right. Time to destroy the Umayyads.
Well, Umayyads basically lucked out. They confronted the Eastern Roman Empire at the point of its weakness. Of course, they took a lot of advantages of this weakness, but I think it does not compare to the situation where both powers are at their prime, and they sort of go head to head with all they got. If the greater rival in that regard would be Persia, the war with whom did bring Rome to this weak state. So in this sense, who would you say the bigger rival is? The one who got you to sort of be weak, or the one who took advantage of it? Samnites don't have to go through this rigmarole. Okay.
Oh, that was a really good one. Well done. So the thing that made the difference for me on this one is you had to say a sentence of exactly what made you had to say a sentence of what made the Byzantines weak at that point for the Umayyads to take advantage, because that was like the core of your argument. It was great. It's just that you had to face the barrage that was Daniel's first main, which was it really felt like the Umayyads are this relentless force, this avalanche of threats descending upon the Eastern Romans. Your main was just as good, but the counters made the difference for me, and score is now 2-1. You're still in the lead, but let's see if the next one is the equalizer. But that was a really good one, and that was Daniel at his best for sure. Where Romobu is more consistent, I think, overall. But we'll see. Maybe it's the beginning of the comeback. Now,
well, I would like to add just one little detail.
Go ahead.
With the Persians, the Romans never, and the Umayyads, the Romans never managed to sack Damascus.
Yeah.
Which I think is
something. I think you made it, but there is a point to be made that the Samnites were defeated and the Umayyads were not. So
they fell apart long before. Well, they were deposed by the Abbasids.
Yeah, the thing about picking a rival from the spirit is that everyone is basically defeated. Like, apart from Persia, and Persia is like,
make mental notes in these debates, because when it comes to the round table, it will be great to expand on some of the points we come across here and go in more detail. Now, for the next one, pick a landmark, a great landmark built by the Romans in your timeline. That's part number 1.
Part 1.
Romans built. Now you're scared.
Just the greatest. That's it.
No, doesn't need to be the greatest.
Just
you
any.
Choose. Yeah, it could be. It could be the Colosseum. It could be the Hadrian Wall. A structure, something the great builders made. I got to see the Colosseum a month ago, by the way, so this is very thematic.
Very nice. I have been to Rome.
Nice.
Although I haven't seen the series. And yes, it was great. It's great being there.
Definitely.
I mean, it's tempting to say the Hagia Sophia, but I may be slightly contrarian and unusual and go with the Theodosian walls themselves.
Okay.
Yes.
Romobu, are we gonna have a wall?
No, we're gonna have a bridge versus wall.
Okay, which one?
Let's go with Trajan's Bridge of Danube.
Bridge?
Oh, with the Danube for the Dacian campaign.
Yes.
Oh, very interesting. Okay, and now the plot twist is which is less impressive.
Why is mine less impressive?
Yes.
Okay.
I was expecting Colosseum, Hagia Sophia, and that would have been interesting, but this is also kind of cool. All right, we're back at you, Alexei. So whenever you're ready, time begins. This should be fun. So it's the Danube Bridge versus the Theodosian Wall. Wow.
Like it.
Destroy them.
Oh, well, can you go and look at the Trajan's Bridge now, huh? Where is it? Who knows about Trajan's Bridge? The Trajan's Bridge stood for, 1,200 years and protected the capital? No, it didn't. It existed for like 150 years, and it was destroyed by the Romans itself because they no longer needed Dacia. Or if Aurelian does something, then it should be done because this guy just does everything perfectly, and he was the one who dismantled the bridge. So obviously, it didn't have to exist anymore. And if if something does not need to exist anymore, well, how impressive can it be? The Theodosian walls, or I can't mention them because it's not yet counter argument.
No, you can if you want.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but Romans built a lot of bridges. Like in this particular one, sure, it's cool, like it was built fast or whatever, but it's not just much greater than something like a bridge over Rhine, which was built faster, or basically any other bridge, just Mons Sublicius over the over the Tiber. So that's a bridge. Cool.
Time. I feel for you, Daniel. Good luck, my
I
friend.
completely agree with your argument. No. So, what was the question?
Why are the Theodosian walls less impressive than the Trajan's bridge?
Less impressive.
Yes.
Well, the Theodosian walls are, at the end of the day, just some walls. Whereas the bridge that Trajan built is no longer there. It's up to your imagination, the colossal structure, the amount of stonework and artistry that went into making it for a grand campaign against Dacia, a conquest which Trajan remained famous for by erecting an enormous column in Rome. And now you can see this big column even today. It was the sad remains of the Theodosian walls are just there, sitting idly by, while the Turks drive past them on their way to work. People go to Rome to see the column with this bridge, a major feature with Roman soldiers building it, whereas most people can't give a cock a hoot about the Theodosian wars. And therefore, I think that this is why the Theodosian rules are less impressive than the Bridge of Trajan.
Bravo. Bravo. That was amazing. Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm here all week.
Oh, Alexei, I want you to build up the Theodosian walls and sell them to me.
Theodosian walls took a completely new type of weapon. Basically, a revolution had to happen in the art of warfare, so that Theodosian walls could be destroyed or could be breached, basically. Trajan's bridge was just disassembled by a bunch of legionaries, like on one of their days. It's Monday time. Aurelian said we should dismantle this bridge, while Mehmed was commanding, fire this huge cannon, like once for it had to be recharged, reloaded for 6 hours, 12 hours? I don't remember how often the huge cannon to be fired. But they stopped Attila. They stopped Khosrow II and his generals. They stopped every Bulgarian Khan who ever threatened Constantinople. Okay.
This is a
not
interesting
everyone.
round.
I'm not gonna give that any hints though.
So the question is, big up Trajan's bridge.
Yes.
Hmm.
I saw sketches online. If you want, you can look it up really quickly.
Sketches.
Yeah. Type Trajan's bridge and some stuff pops up.
I have seen Trajan's column, but that was a while ago. Trajan's bridge.
Yeah, I want you to look
Ooh.
and just romanticize it. Like as you watch, I'm gonna play as soon as you start talking, but tell me what you see and why it's amazing.
Artistic Reconstruction, 1907. Ooh. Very nice.
And time starts in 3, 2, 1.
So, okay, the Theodosian walls are, all right. Took some cannons to take them out, but it's also true that Alexios Strategopoulos managed to scale them with a ladder and managed to retake Constantinople. So they're a bit rubbish as well. However, Trajan's Bridge is this soaring, magnificent construction spanning the width of the Danube River, not some mere pond in your local park, but an enormous river, the likes of which Caesar would have been impressed by if he had crossed it instead of the Rubicon, which is a bit like a stream. It has great big arches on both sides with enormous bronze statues that every soldier on their way to slaughtering the Dacians would have been impressed by, and every barbarian and every Roman passing through it.
Guys,
this
this is one of the best debates I've ever witnessed. This was incredible. Both of you just amazing. But I gotta give this one to Daniel Romabu. I'm sorry, but like he got the shorter end of the stick. He was the underdog in this, and the way he got out of that was incredible. It's the equalizer, but it was your arguments as well that made this a Hall of Fame debate. Honestly, this is we're clipping this, we're posting this. I hope everyone had as much fun as I did, but this is why I love these debates. You get put into play devil's advocate and incredible hilariousness comes out. And I actually learned a lot of stuff here. I think this whole debate had a lot of interesting points that people might have not known earlier. But so yeah,
and
thank you, gentlemen.
Alexios Strategopoulos was not the first person to sneak in through the Theodosian walls. A certain Emperor Justinian did it along the broken aqueduct as well.
Did John Zemiscus do the same in the wicker basket or something?
Yeah, I remember something like
that.
With
assassinating Nicephorus.
The murder of Nicephorus, yes.
Yeah.
You may have done.
Yeah.
You may have done. Anyway.
Okay. So
2 for 2.
2 for 2. I'm wondering how to ask this next one. Okay. 2 parts. Part 1. Pick an emperor.
The trick would be to pick someone no one's heard of. Trouble is, I don't know what's going to be done with them.
Yeah, you never know.
I'm gonna go with Vespasian.
Vespasian, okay.
I'm going to go with Constantine V, Isaurian emperor.
Elaborate.
He was the successor of Leo III. He campaigned against the Arabs and Bulgars for most of his reign. He
do you have any idea how little that narrows it down?
Iconoclasm as a actual part of religious doctrine.
Yeah.
He's Copronymos.
Copronymos. Yes. Okay. So, which emperor would be the better wingman at a bar? You're at a bar, you want to impress some ladies, and you got your boy right next to you. Why would he be a better wingman than your opponents? Your goal is to have a good time and maybe get a girl or a guy, depending on your preferences. Think about everything you know about these two men and what traits they would have for or against you. And whenever you're ready, timer is in my possession.
Who's first?
Who was first last time?
I was.
So it's Daniel.
So it's my turn.
Yeah.
Constantine V was the best wingman. Maybe. Hang on. So, Constantine V is a survivor. He's one to stick around. He knows no nonsense. He's intelligent. He can go toe to toe with a few theologians in a debate about God and the Bible and so on. He's a soldier. You know, he's tough. He's a no nonsense kind of guy, but he's also quite gregarious. He, had 3 lovely wives and had an assortment of children. You have to be some sort of have a way with the ladies to be able to pull that one off, and also set up a dynasty which will last for the rest of the decade. He's quite a nice guy if you get to know him. And had many admiring people that wanted to be like Constantine, such as his grandson, or name themselves after Constantine, like most 9th century emperors and some of the 10th century ones. So he's a really stand-up guy who can get the job done and will probably enjoy a drink with you too.
20 seconds. You can throw a punch at Vespasian.
Whereas Vespasian, he's just wants to tax people. He really likes taxing people. He's a good soldier, but he's a bit old. Could say he's wise, but also a bit of a fuddy-duddy. And probably Titus did most of the work anyway. And when you're in that position, then
that was great. Okay, Alexei, Vespasian, wingman.
Vespasian has everything you want in a perfect wingman. He has a great sense of humor. He had zingers like money don't stink. I'm probably becoming a god when he shot himself and died. This kind of stuff. So you want your wingman to be humorous, and you want your wingman to talk you up. Vespasian sold a urine tax to the public. Surely he can sell your story as to any girl you're going to meet. Also, Vespasian, as Daniel mentioned, he's kind of old. So despite his sense of humor and incredible charisma, girls aren't going to go for Vespasian. They're going to go for the guy who's friend with Vespasian. Because surely, if this fun-loving, charismatic old guy is friend with you, then you got to be like the soul of the company. So you got to be like a perfect man to meet at the bar. So this is why Vespasian, I think, is the perfect man to accompany you to a bar. He even sold like the greater autocracy to the Senate in his decrees, and he's very official with everything. He's the first emperor to get Senate to pronounce him, getting an official law to pronounce him emperor. So he's going to be, he's going to be on time when you go to the bar.
Time.
That's another plus in his.
Very well. And now you need to talk about your opponent's choice and say where things may go wrong, why they're a bad choice as a wingman. 60 seconds.
So Constantine, he's been with, he's a ladies' man, as you may say. Whereas Vespasian, he's been out it for a while. His wife has passed away, unfortunately. Titus is really the ladies' man, enchanting ladies from Judea. And, as much as Vespasian may have been great 30 years ago for, chatting up the local girls in Rome, I don't know how far it'd be useful if you were to go up to a crowd in, the later part of the first century. I don't know if we cut it, but Constantine V. Oh, I mean, he was going strong until he died in 775. And he had like 4 or 5 children all the way up until he was dead, and intelligent, could have an interesting conversation about something like science or theology or strategy. So go with Constantine.
All right.
Well, I think all of the reasons that you mentioned for picking Constantine as a wingman, as your wingman, are actually the opposites. They are reasons not to pick him, because, as you said, he's a ladies' man. He's this charming guy. He's fabled to have killed a dragon. Well, who's gonna have their attention on you if such a perfect specimen of masculinity is accompanied is your company? So everyone's eyes, every girl's eyes are going to be on Constantine. And also he has like a weird nickname. He's called Copronymus, and mentioning something like this. Well, Copronymus is associated with feces, right? So mentioning something like this in the company is going to sort of creep everyone out. So they are either going to go for your friend, right, for Constantine, and not pay any attention to you, or they're going to be weirded out by his nickname.
Wow, that was another really nice debate. Domains were pretty much even. Great arguments on both sides. Very creative, very funny. What did it for me was the really powerful counter about him actually, Constantine, stealing the spotlight away from you. That was very clever. Was great that he picked up on it. Daniel, you had some great counters as well, calling him old, but this one goes to Alexei, making it 3-2. Great debate, great plot twist, and hope you guys are ready for the next one.
Oh, there's something I just wanted to add. It's just like,
sure.
I suddenly thought of it. It's like, Constantine is spoken for. Because Vespasian, bit grey behind the ears, but you can still try, start up the old engine again.
By the way, when you said like,
both.
yeah, when you said that he reigned for 10 years, I was like, damn, for Byzantine terms, that's like a century of a successful reign.
Of Vespasian?
No.
Constantine
right?
reigned for
longer.
34 years.
Oh, didn't you say
741 to 775?
I heard you say a decade. Maybe you were mentioning Vespasian. All right, never mind. Still, and
I was thinking
34 years is
I think that may have been
crazier.
when I was saying how Vespasian's a bit out of it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
All right. Okay, so this is a broader question and no plot twists. Both of your states are very famous for corruption, but which was more corrupt? You're not picking a person, nor are you picking a dynasty. You're overviewing the entire history of Western Rome and the entire history of Eastern Rome, and you're telling me which one is more corrupt. Or, to phrase another way, corruption played a bigger role in which of the two states. But the baseline is who was more corrupt.
That's a good question. Do we mind if I just go to the loo quickly?
Absolutely. Quick magic.
Wow.
Okay, so we're gonna go to a tiebreaker if Daniel wins this. If not, it's game over. No pressure. No pressure.
I'll be a fight between equals, I would say. A worthy opponent.
Definitely. So far, it's been very close. Alexei, you're gonna start this off. Corruption.
Sure. So I think that so both states were corrupt in a sense, but what makes the Western Rome more so is the depth and the extremes of corruption to which the state went. So after the Christianization, I think the basic ideology was more tempered, more tempering to the excesses. But at the heights of the imperial Rome, I think stuff like things that Caligula and Commodus and Caracalla did wouldn't fly in the Byzantine period, so to speak, because of the stuff of how emperor had to present the ideal of morals than of anything like so. No clear ethical structure in the Eastern Roman Empire, which wasn't present so much in the Western Rome before. And if we're talking on the corruption of on the local level and such, the entirety of the Western Empire's fall was due to corruption of how the local landowners got all of the land, made these small autonomous communities, didn't let their workers to go to the army to enlist in the military. Okay.
Well done. Very well done.
Okay. So I think you raised some good points, but from the beginning of the Byzantine Empire, if you will, right up until its end, you have corrupt examples of bottomless corruption that would make it be called the Banana Empire rather than the Byzantine Empire. Because right at the beginning, you have complaints to Diocletian saying that the empire, you need to strip down the dead wood in Egypt and have a nice lean staff because people are just making jobs for themselves and exploiting the system. Then 100 years later, you have Romanus in Africa who exploits his own people even though they're being attacked and then deflects their complaints to the emperor, leading to those same city magistrates to be executed and exiled. So you have some bottomless corruption there. You've got a nice example in the 10th century where the Emperor Romanus is able to just make his like 5-year-old son or however old he is, patriarch of the Eastern of the Patriarchate of Constantinople. And even in the early 14th century, you have people like John Cantacuzene, who's able to buy his commission into the army in order to rebel against the emperor he's bought his commission from. Not only that, but you've got things like the salt monopoly and so forth.
Solid.
Well, those are all good examples of corruption, but apart from the fact that also the first few apply kind of to the same to the Western Empire in the same regard. I think the issue here is that both states can present the examples of corruption, but for what separates the West here is how insanely showy the excesses of Commodus and Caligula were, and how systematic the corruption in the late Western Empire was. Something that I didn't finish during my initial argument is that it was so corrupt that the state itself fell apart. The underlying structures, the recruitment, the economy, the monetary system, like something like getting your coinage from 70% silver to 20% silver in the span of like 5 years is emblematic of systematic corruption.
Okay.
So again, good points, but one, debasing the currency is not the same as corruption. That's a state decision for the economy. It's debatable how far the corruption in the West was the cause for the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Other good examples would be military defeat, social unrest, political disorganization. And if you contrast that with the East at the time, there didn't seem to be any major issues like the West experienced. And then you have Caligula and Elagabalus, sure, but you have many more examples with far longer reigns of people like Trajan, Antoninus Pius, Marcus Aurelius, Augustus, and even people like Constantine the Great and so forth, who, getting to the end of that period, who have sort of model reigns that the Romans harp on about how great they were and how they were examples of good statesmanship.
Really solid debate. Like this one was so well paced and so snappy. You both did a great job. If a viewer's watching this from start to finish, I think they will see such a tremendous growth in how you present your arguments and the pace and the snappiness of it. Main arguments really solid, pretty even. If I would give a slight advantage to Daniel, but then in the counters, I think there was the margin got bigger. Both sides brought really solid arguments. There hasn't been a weak argument up until this point, and this is no exception. The way you broke down you questioned whether corruption was the cause of the fall of the Western Empire. That was a brilliant move. The duration of the reign, the fact that there were successful emperors in between and after the corrupt ones. But what I really, really appreciated was the debasement of the coinage. That was a really nice blow. And Romabu, unlike some of his other debates, was a little bit more, I get the time constraints, but you made a lot of statements that were broad and not substantiated. So overall, this is making my job a lot harder. If anything, I would like a clean cut, but this is as even as it gets. It's 3-3, and now we're going in for the tiebreaker, and I have a couple ideas for this. But I'm gonna go with the cruelest one because if it's a tiebreaker, it really needs to challenge you and put you at a very difficult situation. So here's what we're gonna do. Let me see how to phrase this. Okay, fair enough. Daniel, you need to argue why the Eastern Roman history is overrated.
All right.
And Romabu, you have to say why the Western Roman history is overrated. I think to really understand a topic, you need to be able to go against yourself, if you may, and pick out the flaws and play devil's advocate, which this show is very much about. And in the rebuttals, you need to boost up the opponent's history. So I think we're back to Daniel for this one. We're going to keep the time the same, but instead of interrupting you, I'm going to let you finish your thoughts before I say time. So this will be a little bit bigger because everything's on the line for this one.
If I ramble, do stop me.
I will.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Didn't I go first last time? Or...
Oh, you did? My bad then.
Did I? No. Okay. Right. Let's think.
This should be good.
Okay. So I think Byzantine history and Eastern Roman history is very overrated. You could easily write a history of Europe without even mentioning them, really. I mean, when people say, yes, the Roman Empire, you don't go, oh, you must be referring to the empire of Constantine and Theodosius. No. You think of people like Caesar and Hadrian, stuff like that. It's like you have this very long history, which increasingly becomes less and less relevant to more and more countries. So, you know, it's like, okay, Manuel II goes to England after like 1,000 years, but you know, otherwise, you know, who gives a hoot? And like Roman history is so much more interesting. You know, even the Americans, lovely people as they are, think Roman history is like you know, worth studying and worth modeling their republic upon. Whereas you don't call it the American Empire because of its great orthodoxy and monarchy. So I think Byzantine history interesting, but definitely overrated. And when it comes to Roman history, there's a lot more to it, far greater popular appeal. And it's the thing that most people think of when you say the Roman Empire.
Time. Very well. Very well.
I think you just made my argument for me. You said that, well, everyone thinks about Caesar and about Trajan and about whomever, Augustus, when Roman history is mentioned. Western Roman history is so overrated. People think that the Roman Empire fell in 476. They don't even know what the hell is the Eastern Roman Empire or the Byzantine Empire. So they think that Western Roman history is all of Roman history. And if this is not like overrating stuff, well, I know what is. You're perfectly correct that Americans are modeling this, and they don't think of Constantine. But well, when they say Roman history, but they should think of all of those people, of Basil, of Nicephorus Phocas, and the Constantine the 11th, and all of the Constantines. But well, they don't, because of the French neoclassicists, the Americans, the guy who wrote The Fall of the Decline and Fall, whose name escapes me right. Yeah, Edward Gibbon, and they think that there's nothing else, right, to Roman history but the West, when there is so much more. And how much time?
10 seconds.
Yep. Don't read Edward Gibbon. Or do so.
Or Stephen Russo. Okay, rebuttals time, 60 seconds each.
So my rebuttal is explaining why Byzantine history is not overrated, or
why Western Roman history is not overrated and it's better in every way.
So I need to rebut. Okay.
Yes, I got confused for a second myself, but yes, you need to buff up the West.
Buff up the West. On the other hand, I feel there's a lot about the Western Roman Empire and earlier Roman history that a lot of people underestimate. I think that, as I was saying earlier, people fixate around people like Caesar and Hadrian, and then they don't know anything about the rest of it. They don't, like the 3rd century is slowly becoming more popular and people like Hadrian, but what about poor Decius? What about poor Gallus and his attempt to deal with the Cyprian plague? Moments which could be easily lost to someone who overestimates the history of the western half of the Roman Empire. And the 5th century, I remember only a few days ago, someone said, I don't really bother with 5th century Western history, it's not worth studying. I was like, well, I managed to have a hour-long video about Honorius. Who knows? Maybe I could make a half-an-hour video about Valentinian III.
All right. Final rebuttal, boys.
People do certainly don't know enough about later Roman history, as you said. And the closer to the Eastern Roman history period it gets, the less they know. Well, and this shouldn't be so. the history of Rome as the Republic, as the early and high empire, is probably like the second most known periods, most popular periods after like Second World War. And the Eastern Roman history wouldn't even crack top 50, I think, maybe top 20 something. And it should, because of the deep cultural, legalistic, and literary legacy that it left. But I am gonna bet you 50,000 of anything I've ever had, 50,000 of, that I'm gonna name 5 people from the East, and you're gonna name 5 people from the West, and at least a couple of them, the Western names would be known to the average person, and none of the Eastern people are going to ring any bell.
Time. Well done, guys. Thank you for making my job extremely difficult. This was
Always a pleasure.
it was a really nice final. And now for the verdict. I think Daniel, that rebuttal, I think he had you on the ropes with his main. Then your rebuttal was so good, managed to bring you back. The rebuttal of Alexei was a little bit more of the same, but it added nuance, it added flavor, it enhanced his main even more. There was 2 completely different approaches on what overrated is. It's a really, really hard choice. To me, this debate is kind of a tie, but instead of making excuses for myself, I'm going to use the practice debate that we did off air, that we did on Constantine. I'm going to use that to kind of like go and tip the scales in one direction, which is going to Alexei. Well done, Alexei. You take this by the thinnest of margins. Well done to both of you.
Well done.
I'm not sure. Like, Craig, put some celebrations and a prize on his face or something, because I don't know what prizes are we gonna have. But you guys did incredibly well. This debate in particular, I have a lot of ideas to mention in the roundtable, especially how influential Shakespeare was in defining the popularity of the late Republic and making it as popular as it is today. But for now, I want to say this was an incredibly fun experience. This episode is a banger. For anyone watching this, I think you got a very good taste of how impressive these guys are, how knowledgeable, how passionate they are about what they do. Please go out and check out their channel. That's Romable Ramblings and East Roman History. Their links will be in the description. Subscribe, because out of all of the channels on YouTube there's out there, and there are many that cover Roman history, these 2 are top of the line.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything you want to say before we wrap up part 1?
It was really fun debating with you, Alexei.
No, that feeling is mutual. It was kind of surprising experience.
I feel like I've been through the journey.
One of the wingmans with us.
We made it through the gauntlet, and we'll see you guys on the other side in the round table. See ya.